When I first looked at this image of Mary's sorrow, my heart flashed back to a moment when I sat with a friend following the loss of her only son. I had visited many times during her initial weeks of grief, but on this particular occasion, she had a specific request. She wanted me to be present as she opened, finally, the bag given to her on the night her son was killed. In the bag were his personal belongings, including the last clothing he'd been wearing. I arrived in the early afternoon, and she motioned for me to follow her to a small sitting room. Her footfalls were heavy on the stairs. From a small closet behind the couch, she tenderly lifted the plastic bag the hospital had handed her months before. She sat with the bag across her lap for 30 minutes. I glanced over her shoulder to the window. A single deer walked slowly through the backyard, nibbling grass. Then I heard a moan so small it hammered me. I wasn't sure if I'd ever felt closer to another human being. I watched as her delicate fingers untied the plastic knot and carefully removed her son's shirt. She handled it with the care of someone who confronts a great mystery for the first time. The shirt lay between us like an axe, rumpled cotton capable of pounding your life into a different shape. Thin slants of light fell across her face, but not a visible tear. The tears were boiling inside of her in some hidden cauldron, and though I had no right to buckle, it was her grief, her sword slicing through her heart, even so. Part of me unraveled as her thumb and forefinger reached out to lift one of her son's hairs from the shirt and place it deliberately into a leather pouch that hung around her neck. And then we sat there, two weathered stones, for a full hour. Two stone mothers allowing the unbearable to seep into our density and willing ourselves to bear it. Eventually, she put the shirt back into the bag into the closet, and we each walked to our separate bedrooms to wrestle with the night in our own way. Sorrow, as it will, had come to wordlessly anoint another soul. I am painfully aware that women throughout the world know the powerlessness and the plenitude of the breaking of the human heart. In the image of Mary, her hand across her heart, her eyes shut, yet her body almost majestic, I hear the words, "This is what it is to bear the details of your life and not walk away." I see in her stature the acceptance of what is, in her recesses the force of light, and from an unseen realm a powerful yes emerges as she faces the path she would never have imagined for herself. But any innocence is irrelevant. It has already been torn from her. What matters is her response, her yes. What matters is that she is encountering a woundedness in whose depths veils part. She is at the threshold of a radically different awareness that longs to make itself known. Bruised, yet yielded, a portrait of vulnerability, she is the very image of mourning. And yet, at the same time, she is held within the gentle embrace of great streams of inner knowledge. She is an ancient goddess, a complex, irrepressible symbol of woman. In the slight turn of her head, the human heart is completely exposed, nothing held back. Hers is a fierce openness to incarnation. I think of the words of Jan Fraser. Eternity is here already. Truth is not handed to you, it's in you already, more real than bone. I see in her bearing such depth. It seems the vault of inner life revealing its full compassion. If I were to give this Mary words, I would have her say, "My roots are wide, my heart free." Standing calmly, unhurried, she endures this moment in time, but she is not captive to the sorrow. Calla lilies rise like flames from her coarse cloak, softening the black of the cross. Her wake spills beauty, not tears. Embedded in this momentary pain is the place of no pain. She is a fountain. She is life poured out. Imagine the power if we too were equally unafraid. Pain has shattered beneath the gaze of her deep knowing. It announces itself briefly, then dissolves. It fractures until all that's left is the glow of light. This portrait is rendered in the form of Mary, and yet it is more truly the force of spirit. It is spirit reaching through the artist's hand in order to fill the majestic aura with a godlike glow. Still, beautiful as this alchemy is to behold, it's easier not to know it, not to be challenged by sorrow and its transformation into freedom. It's an immense responsibility. What would I look like if I were as free? If I fell in love with what loves me, and looking back, allowed myself to know it in serene acquiescence. The painting confronts us with the unbearable beauty of loss that has been transfigured by light, and our great answerability to the demand of that same transformation in our own lives. When I take this painting and place it before me in the natural light, the particulars of Mary's face are difficult to distinguish. Her headscarf becomes a halo that highlights the depth and darkness of her features and creates a compelling shadow. Unable to see her individual characteristics, the eye is drawn into the fullness of her deep, secret compliance with life. The painting is now Mary and every woman, every man, every person who labors to step beyond the surface of things into awareness of the subtle world of spirit that holds life in being. And it is in the dark, in the hidden shadows, in the inner sanctuary that this change takes place. Words again from Jan Fraser. Pain is a trap door that opens under the terrible weight of full acceptance. Pain, interestingly, revealing itself as a vehicle for love. A final look. Her turning is so gentle. Nothing awkward, nothing affected. Nothing sharp, nothing bitter or resentful. She is rounded like the deep bending of the reeds along the shore, the bowing of birds in flight, the dipping of supple bodies as they dance. She complies, agrees. She is receptive to all that is. The pain may momentarily have caused her to stop, but there is a deeper reality, and she knows it. She embodies it and is it. She makes it visible in her stature. There will be no "why me" from these lips. She may have uttered it initially, but she asks it no more. "Why me" transposed itself as the shock rumbled through her body. All around her, flowers grow in a soft halo. There is no necessity now other than breathing into the awareness that arises. There are larger places, and this is what she has become. Mary, full of grace, full of sorrow, full of heartbreak that has seen through the illusion into the full face of all that is holy. Holy Mary, full of grace. I gaze upward, feeling the strength of the hand that is raised to her heart on my own breast.